I'll be there for you, calling me when you're lonely, dancing on the roof. It feels like rendezvous. You know what to do. Keep your love for me only. I get high on you, yeah, you. Hey baby, kiss me hard, don't you?
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have for you a 100 random questions about me tag. Someone that I've just recently subscribed to, her channel name is Gone's Girl. I'll link it down below. Her name is Denny, and she did this tag with a bunch of her YouTuber friends, and I just thought it would be a lot of fun. Now, just a disclaimer right from the beginning. There are 100 questions, so this verbose girl that can't answer a question without explaining 8,000 things about it is not going to get this done very quickly. So, more than likely, you're going to see me with various makeup, various outfits, various makeup looks, because I'm probably going to be filming these in little snippets as I have time to film. So let's get started. The first question is, what is your full name? My full name is Sherri Michelle Ward. I've always really liked my name. It was unique. The only thing I wished is that it would end with a Y instead of an I, because whenever I was a little girl, I wanted to be foofy and just whip the tail of the Y all the way under the rest of my name for my signature. But my name was never on those little license plates for your bike. My name was never on the things that you could buy at the convenience store for souvenirs and stuff. They always had Sherry, never I. And I'm permanently scarred for life because of this. All right, moving on. Are you named after anyone? No, I'm not named after anyone. My niece Callie is named after me, though, and has the middle name Michelle like me, so that's really cool. But no, my parents just kind of made it up. They thought I was going to be a boy, and so they had lots of boy names chosen. Randy and Ricky were the top. So think about my name, Sherri. My dad is Gary. My mom is Kathy. One of my brothers is Rocky, and my poor brother Roger is the only one that doesn't have an E at the end. But I would have been a Ricky or a Randy. Wouldn't that have been fun? Kathy, Gary, Rocky, Ricky, Randy, and Roger. Anyway, no, I'm not named after anyone. Next is, how old are you? I am 46. I'm not thrilled about this fact. I think I would really love to return to about 32 through 35, somewhere in there, and take with me the wisdom that I have at 46. I'm at a good place in my life completely. I mean, I'm totally comfortable in my own skin, happy and confident with myself and my life. Of course, there are things I would change as far as making things better, but I wouldn't change anything in the past. I don't have regrets. I do have regrets, but I'm thankful for the outcomes because of what happened, if that makes any sense. Where do you live? I live in Stillwater. See, that's just ingrained. I live in Perkins, Oklahoma, which is outside of Stillwater, Oklahoma, which is the home of Oklahoma State University, where I went to college, where my dad was a baseball coach for 20 years, where both my brothers attended. There's a funny little saying that we say we bleed orange because our school colors are orange. So, from the Oklahoma State University area. Next is, what is your favorite drink? Coffee. Period. I drink coffee and I drink water. Occasionally iced tea, but mostly coffee and water, and coffee is a must. And speaking of, ta-da! And lately, I've been really doing something interesting with my coffee, which is adding vanilla, erythritol, which is an artificial sweetener because I have given up all sugar, and coconut oil and butter, and blending it. And it sounds crazy. Oh, and vanilla. Sounds crazy, but it's delicious, and it's almost like eating a meal. It keeps you full all day, and you get all those good fats that you need for your brain health and your body. Good stuff, man. Bulletproof coffee. Go Google it. It's on Pinterest. It's on everywhere. My favorite food, man, it's impossible for me to choose one thing. I really like vegetables a lot. Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, cucumbers, tomatoes, squash, spinach, kale. I'm a veggieaholic, and I think the reason I am is because in 2005 I had weight loss surgery. Ruin why. gastric bypass, and I had a really bad aversion to meat for a lot of years because it made me sick for like the first year and a half out from surgery. And the fact that it made me sick just made me basically hate it, and I didn't want it anymore. I have to force myself to eat protein. I just do it when I have to. My body tells me whenever I'm really low on protein, I just don't have any energy and I'm tired and I'm hungry all the time. So, veggies. How about that for the blanket statement? What is your favorite holiday? My favorite holiday is Christmas. And the reason is just because, I mean, I don't love all the hoopla and all the drama and the Black Friday and all that jazz that goes along with it. I think it's very much materialized. Is that a word to describe it? It's very marketing heavy, and that bothers me. But I love being off school. Hello. I love having a little bit of a breather from school. I love spending time with my family. I love the magic of the spirit around Christmas. I mean, when you're a Christian, even though, you know, there's all these, you know, theories about when actual Christmas is, that is irrelevant to me because I'm celebrating the birth of my Savior. It doesn't matter. It could be July 22nd, and that if he was born on that day, then that's Christmas. So I'm not worried about the fact that it's a particular day and some people think it is and some people think it isn't. You know, maybe that's something I really need to do some research on, actually. But anyways, Christmas. I love it. I love the way it feels. I do not like the anticlimax at the end where it's all over and then all of a sudden you're just like, ugh, blah. Now there's all this time, you know, for a teacher, all this time before spring break. But I do love Christmas. I love the holiday season. What is your favorite childhood memory? I have no idea. Jeopardy theme? Okay, I'm just going to choose one. I have lots of happy childhood memories, but one of my favorite things to do is to be at my grandparents' lake house at Grand Lake. And, you know, don't get some idea that they've got this elaborate giant mansion on the lake somewhere and that we're rich folk. My grandpa built a cabin there and it was perfect and beautiful, but not fancy. But that's what I liked about it. It was back in a cove. It was down, you had to come down a steep incline to get in, and you had to go up a steep incline to get out. It was just kind of nestled there in the trees, and it had a screened-in porch, and that's where Grandma would set up our cots, and that's where we would sleep at night. And I would just lay there and listen to the crickets and whatever else was moving around, raccoons and squirrels and all that stuff, possums. But it was just so peaceful. I love the way the air smelled. I love being with my family there. I love sleeping outside and feeling safe. So that's one of my favorite childhood memories. All right, guys, I'm back to answer some more questions from this 100 random questions about me. I told you I was going to have to do it in little snippets. So here's another installment. The next question is, what is your favorite way to pass time? Well, my favorite way to pass time is playing with makeup, but that's obvious, right? That's a given. I do like to read. I really like audiobooks. I love to listen to audiobooks, especially when I'm doing something that I'm not quite enjoying, like laundry or unloading the dishwasher, or even like, you know, sous chefing and prepping for meals and things like that. I don't necessarily enjoy doing them, but I do enjoy not having to worry about it later. So I guess reading is going to be a good one. Listening to music is a good one. But my favorite way to pass the time, I guess, is probably listening to audiobooks. The next question is, what is your favorite snack? Well, I've pretty much given up carbs now. I've given up sugar and carbs that turn to sugar. And so now I guess my favorite snack is peanut butter and pork rinds, which, you know, just the thought of pork rinds kind of sticks me out. But whenever I want something crunchy and salty, that's a good alternative that works for me anyway. Next, what is your favorite sport? I have a favorite sport to play and I have a favorite sport to watch. When I was younger, I was a baseball coach's kid, so I played every sport. I was in gymnastics, I took dance, I played soccer and softball and basketball, everything possible. I was really active when I was younger. And but my favorite to play is basketball. I guess my favorite to play and favorite to watch are the same. I like to watch basketball. I love to watch NBA basketball. And I've had various favorite teams over the years, and I think that question's coming along, so I'll leave it there. But I love to watch basketball. I love to watch baseball if it's live. I like to watch live baseball games. I like to be there. I don't like watching it on TV. Did I answer the question? Favorite to play? Basketball. Favorite to watch? Baseball if it's live. Basketball if it's on TV. There you go. Next is, what is your biggest regret? And it's funny because I just got through spending so much time with my family for Thanksgiving, and we were talking about this. And, you know, everybody says that if they look back on their life, they wouldn't change anything. And for the most part, that's true for me. The only thing that I would change, the only thing that I regret is taking so long to stop hating myself. And I spent so many years with just a self-degrading reel of negative talk going on in my head my whole life. And of course, at the time, I didn't know how to correct for it. I didn't know how to change it. I didn't know I could change it. And it was like such a source of shame for me that I felt this way about myself. I didn't want people to know that I felt this way about myself, so I hid it a lot. It was a source of shame. I wanted to keep it hidden. I didn't want anybody else to know it. And so anything that I projected out to the world was a front. It was a lie. It's not how I felt. I just wanted people to think that's how I felt. Like the comments that people made about my weight didn't hurt me, and I was okay with myself and comfortable in my skin and all those things. I wasn't. So I regret wasting so much time hating myself and not loving myself. And I think if I could have that time back with the frame of mind and the frame of spirit and just the place I am now, I just don't know what I could have been able to accomplish if I had had that state of mind at that time. But, you know, I also am a believer in everything happens for a reason. I do think that a lot of who we become is from our scars. Something that's very different for me now is that I'm not afraid to show my scars, because it's other people showing me their scars that made me realize that I wasn't alone in feeling like the way that I was feeling. And knowing these things about other people that are shameful to them and they've shared with me and that are scars for them also made me understand that there's power in knowing that you're not alone in something. There's power in sharing that with somebody else, because you know, something that you struggle with or used to struggle with and now you don't, maybe you can help somebody who's struggling with that now, because you have such an empathy and compassion for that person and what they're going through, because you know exactly what it feels like. And I feel like if I never went through anything in my life, if I never had a weight issue that was difficult, if I never had insecurity issues that were difficult, I don't think that I would be able to help anybody else through those things. And I think I have helped a lot of people through those things. You know, it all comes down to you have to do your own work. And if you're not willing to do the work, then nothing's going to change. I've always been willing to do my own work. I just didn't know what the work was. And so I feel like once I figured out what I needed to do, which it had everything to do with Jesus for me, that's when I turned the corner. Finding out that there was an unconditional love and finding out that I was perfect in His eyes exactly how I am right this second, and that I was accepted exactly how I was. And the reason I learned this is because of people who had the Spirit of Jesus living in them that showed me, hey, this is what real love looks like. It's not conditional. It doesn't have limits. It doesn't have prerequisites or, you know, rules attached to it. Love is love. And I never experienced that before other than my family. And so once I found people like that, it's like, man, there was a whole new world that opened up. And just the fact that, you know, I know who I am. That I think that's the biggest part of it, is I know who I am. I know who I belong to. I know who I am and I know whose I am. And those two things alone changed everything for me. And I don't think that I could be more thankful for that, because the rest of my life is going to be spent serving Him and being a light in a world that's so dark right now, and being the person that, is willing to show you and bare my soul and, be transparent with you so that you can see that it's not my front that I'm showing you, it's my heart that I'm showing you. And if there's something that you're going through that I've been through and I can help you through, I know how to do that. I've been where you are, and I've overcome it, and God has delivered me from so many things. And so let me show you how to do that. That's a really long answer to a probably simple question, but I regret not loving myself for most of my life because it's a waste of time. And the people that helped me to feel that way were also a waste of my time. I just didn't know it. But I'll take the scars. I'll take the times, the little dents that I have in my bumper, all the little things, the little dings and cracks and all the things that have shaped me into who I am. And I'm proud of those things now because it's like I'm beyond that. I'm somebody else now. And it's nice to look back and see progress and see change and know that I'm capable of that. And if you get a few of those conquering moments under your belt, it gives you momentum for days, for decades. It gives you momentum. Obviously, I haven't overcome the fact that I can't speak clearly. It gives you momentum for days and years and months and decades. You get a few conquering moments under your belt, you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, next question. Are you a fan of any sports team? What I was talking about earlier, I love NBA basketball, and I had various teams. I was a really big Bulls fan when Michael Jordan was playing. When Kobe and Shaq were on the same team on the Lakers, I was a big Lakers fan for a long time. I really liked to watch Steve Nash play, so I was a Suns fan. I'm more of I like that player, so I root for their team kind of girl. But now we have a pro team in Oklahoma. We have the Oklahoma City Thunder, so that's my team. For basketball. For football, nah, don't care. I like to watch it. I just don't care. Pro. See, I always have to go back and have like P.S. Pro teams. I don't care about football. College, obviously. I go for Oklahoma State. Go Pokes. All right. Are you a dog person or a cat person? I am a dog and a cat person. In fact, the majority of my life I've had both. And the only time I didn't have both is when I didn't have a choice because I lived in a place I could only have cats and I couldn't have a dog, so I didn't have a dog. I'm equally a cat and a dog person. Am I scared of heights? Yes, I am. And I have no experience that helped me to feel that way. I just get major anxiety. I don't feel that way when I'm in a plane. It's so funny because it makes me think back to even when I was a kid. Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, at the end when they are in the elevator and the car of the elevator crashes through the roof of where the building and they're flying, that freaked me smooth out. So every time I'm in an elevator, especially the ones that have like windows on the outside where you can see yourself going up and you see yourself getting higher, like I have a minor freak out moment every time I am in that situation. I really don't like driving over high bridges. There's a couple different ramp type bridges in Tulsa. And in fact, one of the places that we go to concerts at the BOK has one that you have, if you're coming from one direction, you have to go up on this tall bridge. And I'm like freaking, I'm like, oh gosh, Jesus help me. Yeah, hyperventilating. My friend Becky laughs at me, but I can't help it. It's like anxiety-ridden moments for me to cross over that bridge. I don't mind planes. I don't feel that way when I'm in an airplane. And I don't mind it on like roller coasters and things like that. It's just like particular things. When I lived in Colorado, there's a whole bunch of really curvy roads that have really long drop-offs if you were to go over the side. Yeah, don't love those kind of situations. So anyways, what's at the top of my bucket list? The top of my bucket list has always been to travel to England, to go to the UK. There's a lot of places that I'd like to go, but I really want to go to London. I've always wanted to go to London. I enjoy so many things English. Like from the time when I was a teeny bopper, I loved Duran Duran, and I got obsessed with English stuff. Then a particular English man named John Taylor. Oh, let me just kick over my brush holder thing down here. I'm kind of a klutz. But anyways, I love English tea. I love English literature. I love different periods. Like I love Jane Austen novels. I love Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice. I love those books. I love Shakespeare. I think British literature is like a class that most people dread, like hardcore dread in college, and I was all about it. I even like the Canterbury Tales. Seriously, nobody likes the Canterbury Tales except me, but I did. I liked them. And so I've just always wanted to travel there, and I don't want to be there for 3 days. I want to go there for like 2 weeks, and I want to walk all over the place, and I want to go to a lot of different areas. And so I really hope I get to do that. That's my favorite. I mean, that's the number one place that I want to travel to. And I want to go before I'm too old to enjoy it. Like, I want to walk around. I don't want to be on a cane. I don't want to be pushed around in a wheelchair. I want to go while I can still kind of not, and I don't even mean like backpack across no, Sherri's not a backpack across anything, girl. But I would like to just go to different places and just explore. You know, sit in a little cafe and have a cup of tea and just watch. I just think I would really love that. Let's see, what's one item you can't leave home without? Well, I'm filming on it right now. I never thought I would be that person that has a mild panic attack when they realize they've left their phone somewhere. That's me. Yeah. Yeah, my phone. What is the best compliment that you ever received? I've received a lot of really nice compliments. But the one that I enjoy receiving the most is that when somebody meets me, they know that I follow Jesus. They know it because his light and his love shines out of me, apparently. And that is the biggest compliment that you can give to me, because if you can see him in me, then I feel like I'm living my life in a way that's worthy of him, even though it's not. You know what I'm saying? No, maybe you don't. Let me explain it, because I'm an explainer if you haven't noticed. If someone sees me and they know that I follow Jesus just because they can tell by the way that I love, the way that I give, the way that I care, that's a big compliment to me. Because if they can't see him in me, then what am I doing? What am I not doing if somebody can't see him in me? So that's the best compliment, that someone can see me and know that I follow Jesus. What is the first book you remember reading? When I was a little girl, I had a best friend named Kelly J, and she lived a few houses down, and we walked to school together. We did everything together, and we found out her family was moving away, and they bought me a going away present. They were the ones that were leaving, but they bought me a present, and it was a Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2 book. And at the time, I was in kindergarten, so I was a beginning and I was an emerging reader, but I didn't know how to read. I thought I didn't know how to read. But my brother was reading it to me, and every word he'd come to that he didn't know, I knew it. And so at that moment, they figured out that I actually already knew how to read. And so that's the first book I remember reading. Next is, what is the first movie you remember seeing? And you know, I don't remember any movies prior to coming to Oklahoma. We moved to Oklahoma in 1978. I was turning 6. When my dad took the baseball coach's job at Oklahoma State is when we moved to Oklahoma, and my parents were from Oklahoma, so they were returning home. But for me, I was leaving where I was born in Arizona and coming to Oklahoma. And when we first moved into Stillwater, they had a drive-in, a drive-in movie. And they had Savannah Smiles, a double feature of Savannah Smiles and the Muppet movie, the first OG Muppet movie. And I didn't see most of the second one because I went to sleep. But I remember Savannah Smiles. I think it was a Disney movie. I'm not sure. But that's the first movie I remember seeing. what is the last book you read? I am a person who reads 4 or 5 books at the same time. And so I end up finishing them all at the same time. But the last one I actually listened to was called Finding Jake. And man, it was like a really tearjerker kind of story. It was about a school shooting and a parent not knowing where his child was and if his child was alive, or if his child, and the progression through it where maybe his child was involved in the shooting. He didn't know if he was alive or dead. And man, it was a really like a pull heartstring kind of thing, but it was also like a reality check of, it's sad that we live in that kind of world where those things happen. But it was really interesting to see it from a parent's point of view. No one should have to experience that, but I'm not gonna ruin the end in case you want to read it. But it was an eye-opening thing that kind of went into every detail, like every avenue and every perspective that kind of situation could take on, from different people's perspective, you know. So it was really a good book. Do I have any pets? Yes, I have 2 cats, and I think, yeah, there's that black splotch back there is Boo Bear. And there's a funny story about him. He was in my friend's vehicle. She kept hearing a cat meow, but she couldn't find him. She looked in the tire wheels, under the hood. She looked everywhere for him, and she couldn't find him. And she had to go to Oklahoma City, which is about 45-minute drive from here, to pick up her kids' glasses, I think. She had to get there and get them before it closed or whatever. And so she had to drive with the cat in the car. And somewhere in there, she found a police officer, and he looked through it, and he couldn't find the cat either. And so my friend Becky told my other friend Damaris, come here and I'll find the cat. And so she went out, Damaris got here, Becky went out, and I looked over at Patrick and I said, she's going to go out there, she's going to find the cat, she's going to bring it in here, and we're going to have a new cat. And that's exactly what happened. She brought him in, and he was this little, tiny little black fuzzball, and he just put his little head right here, started purring, over with. And since we moved into this house, which in January will be 4 years, we've lost 3 babies. I had 2 old lady kitties that were both over 15 years old, and we lost them one a year ago, and then one, well, probably a year and a half ago, and now one about a year ago. And then a few months back, we lost our Marley. And you guys, if anybody have watched my channel for long, I had a Great Pyrenees named Marley, and she's this giant 150-pound dog, and I miss her every single day. I miss her every day. And I don't know why, even holidays and stuff, just think, ugh, like I can't stand it that she's gone. I was putting a slideshow video together for my parents' 60th anniversary. And as I'm looking through all these pictures, trying to find the pictures to use, I saw her everywhere. And I was like, oh, I miss you so bad, Marley. So there better be dogs in heaven is all I have to say about that. Marley better be waiting for me because I miss her so bad. What is the name of my first pet? My very first pet was named Ruffy. And it was a white poodle. And we lived in Arizona. My dad coached at a junior college called Yavapai in Prescott, Arizona. And their mascot was called a Rough Rider. And so that's where Ruffy got his name. What is my eye color? You tell me. On video, it looks kind of brown, but my eyes really aren't brown. I think my eyes are a combination of my mom and my dad's eyes. My mom has kind of an amber-colored brown eye, and or brown eyes. She has 2. And my dad has kind of blue with some green in the center of it. My eye is really kind of hazel. It's the easiest way for me to describe it. Some days it's blue, sometimes it's green, sometimes it's kind of aqua looking. The older I get, the more green it looks, but I have like a little brown and sometimes greenish looking like little circle that kind of flecks out from around my pupil. So I don't know, you tell me, Hazel. Some people comment that I have on my videos that I have pretty brown eyes, and I guess from maybe on the video they do look brown, but they're hazel. Next is, what is your favorite fairy tale? I guess this is really boring, but I think Cinderella. As a teacher, I have read so many different renditions of that fairy tale. My very favorite book, or my very favorite version of Cinderella, is called The Rough-Faced Girl, and it's a Native American kind of a folktale type fairy tale, and I love it. It's just like, if you can, it's a beautiful book. If you haven't read it and you've got little kids, get it. It's called The Rough-Faced Girl, and it's by Rafe Martin. It's just like Cinderella tale, but it's you know, it just incorporates all the cultural elements of Native Americans. But I love Cinderella. It's an underdog story, you know, and I've always been about the underdog. I was the underdog for my whole life, and you know, the people that I was drawn to were always underdogs. I always was friends with people that other people, you know, weren't. I always chose people that other people mistreated most of the time. And, you know, they turned out to be the most incredible people, or the most unlikely that, you know, I would be friends with. I have such a interesting circle of people that I love from my life. I definitely enjoy a good underdog story. And of course, I want a happily ever after, right? I want a happy ending. In fact, I get really ticked off if I'm watching a movie for 2 hours and it has an unhappy ending. I'm like, you know, there's enough of those in real life. I don't need to be watching them on a movie. This is supposed to be like make-believe, make me happy, have a happy ending. I have been known to leave movies like really mad if it doesn't turn out the way I think it should. What is my favorite ice cream flavor? I have 3. And the funny thing is, I have all these favorite flavors, and I don't eat ice cream. Even when I was still eating sugar, I only ate ice cream maybe like once a year. But I like nutty ice creams. I like chocolate almond, I like butter pecan, and I like black walnut. Those are my 3 favorite, and I like them all equally. It just depends on what mood I'm in. What is my favorite music genre? See, here we go again. I very rarely land on one thing, and that can be my favorite. I like a variety. I like almost every kind of music. And if I don't necessarily like it, if I listen to it long enough, I'll like it. I love R&B. I love old R&B, like old Motown is like, I love the Temptations and the OJs and, you know, Sly and the Family Stone. And I love Smokey Robinson. Oh, I love Smokey Robinson. Love. I really love most Motown artists. I was a really ginormous Michael Jackson fan whenever I was younger. Actually went to see him in Kansas City. I went to see him in Kansas City, and he was like this big because I was up in the nosebleed. Like I was 1 row from the top of Kansas City Stadium, but I was so thrilled to see him. But I don't know. Right now, my favorite genre is Christian music. I listen to Christian music predominantly. I do like some pop music. I do like some R&B. I like a little bit of hip-hop and rap, but I don't know. It depends on what mood I'm in that day. I like variety. I have a very diverse taste in music. My favorite quote, I have it at the beginning of every one of my description boxes in my videos, and I can't even quote it to you because I need to look it up on my phone. So I'm going to close here this little installment, and when I come back with the next installment, I will have that in front of me where I can read it to you. I'll tell you it's by Anais Nin, and it's about taking a risk, you know, getting out of your comfort zone. That's what it's about. So that'll be a little cliffhanger for you, and I'll be back with it. All right, I'm back to get back at these questions, this 100 random questions about me tag. Excuse the mess on the back there, or on my bed back there, because I just got done filming a couple of videos and a shopping my stash video, and so That's my stash back there. All right, here we go back into the questions. What is your favorite type of clothing? Well, as you can usually see, I am pretty casual, but I do like things that have something unique. I love the style right now with straps and different like things across the chest. I'm a particularly modest dresser. I don't like cleavage to show. I don't like a lot of my skin to show. And so whenever it has something very simple here that exposes a part of my body I don't necessarily mind showing, like my upper chest and my back, I really like those kind of shirts that are unique. Because like I've never seen one like this before I got it, and I love it because it's got little gold studs and it's got some pretty details. But I like flowy shirts. Obviously I don't want anything hugging anything of mine. I like to conceal a lot of what's underneath, and so I think probably unassuming. I don't like eclectic type clothing. If I'm at home, I'm really in pajamas. But if I'm out running errands, I'm in jeans and Converse and just a whatever shirt. But when I go to work, I stick with neutrals. I like to have just like black or brown or gray slacks and shoes. And then I have some kind of top that has something pretty, some kind of pretty detail. I'm probably not what you would call fashion conscious, but I do have my own style, I guess. What is your most commonly used swear word? Well, I try very, very hard not to swear. At this point, it's usually when I'm angry, or maybe I drop something on my foot, or, you know, I feel like a mouth that's constantly cursing is a mouth that's not honoring God. And so I feel guilty if I ever do use curse words, so I try not to. Also, I'm around kids all day. I don't want to be accustomed to something that might slip out when I'm talking to a child. So my endeavor is to not. Whenever I used to a lot before I decided to change that, probably the SH word. And that's usually what would come out if I hurt myself. But yeah, there are curse words like GD that I really don't use because it's really not honoring God. It's taking his name in vain, and so I don't do that. It says, do you have a best friend? If so, then who? Well, if you've watched my channel for more than 12 seconds, you know my best friend is Becky. And eventually she'll probably be on here. I really liked Aisha and Denny doing their little best friend videos. I think that would be fun to have Becky included on one of those. But she's been my best friend. Her ex-husband and my ex-husband worked together. And that's how we got acquainted with each other. We both went to high school. We were in the same circles. We had the same friends, but somehow we didn't meet each other or at least hang out together in high school. But, you know, the friendship between Henry and Terry kind of fell away, and ours stayed, and we've been friends for like 20-something years now. You know, I think you know your best friend whenever there's somebody that you know that doesn't judge you and who loves you unconditionally, and you can be around them in the best of moods and the happiest of times, and they're there then, but they're also there in the worst of times, and the times where, you know, you're on the floor crying and you can't get back up, and that's the person that helps you get back up. And so that's definitely Becky for me, and also my mom. Do I have a tattoo? No, I do not. I am not against tattoos. I actually very much appreciate the artistry of tattoos, and there's some that are very beautiful now. They're very talented artists. I used to watch the Kat Von D show. I don't remember what the name of it was, but I love to watch her do the tattoos. I love the stories behind them. How beautifully she did portraits of people that were very dear to someone they lost, or someone that's still here and very dear to them. I don't know. I am of the mindset that I can make choices for piercings or things that I do to my own body. But if what I do is an influence on a child, I don't think that's the position that I'm in. As a teacher, I don't think what I do should influence what a child does. So I make sure that, you know, if I were to get something, it would be very discreet. It would be probably someplace that was coverable, or at least in a place that wasn't screaming out that it was there. I do have ideas, and Becky and I actually said when we turned 40 we were going to get a tattoo, and we're 46. She's about to turn 46, and we still haven't done it. I guess I'm afraid that it's permanent, and maybe there will be something about it that I don't like, or they won't portray it the way that I want them to, or it won't look like the picture, or any of those things, and that probably deters me. The pain doesn't intimidate me at all, but I don't have one yet, but I'm not saying I never will, because I think I probably will eventually. Do I have any allergies? I am allergic to every kind of grass, every kind of tree, every kind of animal except cats, which is weird, but I never let that stop me having them around. But I do have to limit during the season when allergens are really high. I do have to limit my time outside, or my eyes get itchy and swelly and my face itches, and it's just not pleasant. Do you have any birthmarks? If so, where? No, I do not have any birthmarks. Do you prefer kissing or cuddling? Kissing is like the best thing ever. I do like cuddling, but kissing is the best thing ever. What piece of technology can you not live without? I think before I would say my phone, I would say my computer, because I am much more computer savvy than I am phone savvy. I can't navigate my phone like people who don't have computers and use their phone for everything, and so they're so good at it. I get real frustrated when I'm having to navigate on a phone. I can click through anything on a computer like wildfire, done. Take me 6 hours on a phone, so I'm going to say computer. What was the first concert you ever attended? Well, we had just moved to Oklahoma. My dad took a position at Oklahoma State, and they used to be called Gallagher Hall. It's now called Gallagher Iba Arena. But it used to be called Gallagher Hall, and they actually had concerts in there. I've seen actually quite a few concerts in there, but the very first one that we went to see, and my dad was new to town, people invited him to do things like that, and so he brought us, not knowing what we would encounter, and I'll explain that in a minute. But it was Reba McEntire and Hank Williams Jr. So just last night on the way home from shopping, there's that song, Hank, why do you drink? Why? You know that song anyways, or maybe you don't. But he's kind of crazy. He was kind of crazy back in the day. And so the kind of people that were drawn to that kind of show were there. And that sounds so judgy. I'm not like that. But anyways, I'm trying to give you an idea of what kind of crowd was there. A very drunk, very high crowd. And so we got there, and we're kind of in the nosebleed section, but, my parents found out quickly that it wasn't an environment for children. So we were there, and my mom was quickly stuffing Kleenexes into our ears because it was so loud that it was hurting our ears. And there was a smell that I hadn't smelled before, and if you think about it for a second, you'll know what I'm talking about. So we watched the majority of Reba. We watched about 5 minutes of Hank, and I guess my parents had had enough and we left. But that was my first concert, like official concert. My grandmother, my dad's mom, Helen, was a musician, and she played the banjo and the fiddle and the guitar and the piano, and she used to take us to bluegrass festivals. So it was kind of a concert, but not like in a official capacity, I guess. What was your favorite high school? Obviously, it wasn't reading. What was your favorite subject in high school? My favorite subject in high school was English. English has always been my strong suit. Math and science, not so much. I'm much better than I used to be. College taught me a lot in math and science. I had a lot of very dedicated tutors and friends in class with me that helped me a lot with those things. But English has always been my talent. I love to write. I write poetry. I write stories. I do blogging and journaling and stuff like that. And I love to read. But I had a teacher. I'll talk about her later because I think there's a favorite teacher question. But there was a particular teacher that really inspired me to love literature and really love English. What was your first job? My first job was working in the Oklahoma State baseball office. My dad would allow me to, at least when I got older, that is how I paid things off. So like when I turned 16 and I got my car, It wasn't just handed to me. I had to work for several summers in the office. Probably not a great place for a teenage girl because there were college boys coming in and out, and they were very vocal and very crass. And other of his coworkers weren't necessarily politically correct in the way that they talked, and lots of cussing. And I just kind of sat there with my eyes like this most of the time. But it was boring, and I fell asleep. Thankfully, I had a radio, but all I did was listen or answer the phone and take messages. But it was for about 8 hours a day in the summer, and that's not where I wanted to be. But, I mean, gosh, I was making good money, and it was nice to have a paycheck. And what he would do is he would give me half of the money I earned. Half went to my car and half went in my pocket so that I would at least have some inspiration to come to work. Next says, what is the furthest you've been away from home? And I'm guessing, I really don't know how far either of these are from the United States, but the only place I've ever been over, like an overseas trip, is I went to Negril, Jamaica with a guy I was dating at the time named Ty, and his brother was getting married there, and that I went there, and I went to Hawaii. So I don't know which one of those places are the farthest away. It took less time to get to Jamaica on a plane than it did to get to Hawaii, so I'm guessing Hawaii. What was your least favorite subject in high school? Math. Period. I was so not good at math. None of it made sense. And the thing is like, as long as there was a process, like when you do division or multi-digit addition or subtraction, there's a process. And as long as you know that process, it doesn't matter what number's plugged in, you can do it. When you get to algebra, geometry, trig, stuff like that, no, it didn't compute. You had to figure out the formula to figure out the answer. And yeah, my brain doesn't work that way. Like I said, I did get better at it and got a lot of, got to the point where I did understand most things and passed my classes in college. There were a couple that I got a C in, and that was like a miracle straight from God. When was the first time you were on a plane? I honestly don't know. The first one that I remember is my parents were in Texas for some kind of tournament over spring break, and the college spring break was different than my school spring break, and I was in a play. And my dad had friends at the Stillwater News Press. They had a private plane, and so that plane brought me back to Oklahoma so that I could be in my teddy bear play, my teddy bear picnic play. And it was the scariest ride ever because I had never been in a plane. If I had, I didn't remember, and it was scary. It felt like being on a roller coaster, and I thought we were going to die the entire time. When was the last time that you cried? I cried about an hour ago. I'm very emotional. I'm very sentimental. It doesn't take much to bring a tear to my eye. I was telling about my parents' 60th anniversary and their reaction to the little celebration that we held for them. And yeah, an hour ago. And probably before I finish answering these questions. Who is the best teacher you ever had? And her name was Mrs. Walkowitz. And don't ask me how to spell it because, yeah, I probably still don't know how. But I was a very insecure teenager. I was very uncomfortable at school. I was anxious. I didn't really consort with people much. I was really shy. And anything that you saw was not the real me. It was me trying to convince you I was something else. But I was very uncomfortable at school. I didn't want to be there. And so a lot of the papers and journal entries that I wrote were kind of transparent. And I don't know why I felt so safe with her, but I did. And so I shared things with her in my journals about how I was feeling, and mostly about my weight and how I was being like ridiculed and picked on, and how I didn't feel comfortable at school. And anyways, she wrote a comment on my paper that I still remember to this day, and it was the beginning of shaping my thinking into a more positive frame of mind about myself. And it said, don't wait for everything to be perfect. Live now. Enjoy life now. And then it had P.S. and major in English with a smiley face. That was the first time I ever felt like somebody noticed me and noticed something good in me. And I guess she just deduced from what she read of my heart that I wrote out on the paper, that I was struggling. And just that little 30 seconds that it took her to write that changed a lot for me and made me feel very special. And so I will always appreciate her for that. I think when you're a teacher, there are several teachers that your style morphs into, and she's very much part of my style of teaching. I always try to find something unique and special in each child and acknowledge it, because I know what it did to help me. And so I want to do that to help them. Also, Mrs. Crutcher is another, and she was just kind. That's what impressed upon me, was that she was kind. Who is the first person you call when something exciting happens? Who is the first person you call when something horrible happens? Well, there's 3 people: my mom, my husband Patrick, and my best friend Becky. And whoever is closest, nearest, I know is going to answer is who I call first. All equally important, and they will all find out eventually. Who is my favorite musician? Gavin DeGraw. I have a strong affinity for people who are so talented that they can sing a cappella, they could grab a guitar, they can sit down in front of a piano and need no percussion, no any accompaniment except what they're playing, and just blow you away. I've always loved music that is poetry to music, and most song lyrics are poetry, but like the words are beautiful, and the words evoke some kind of emotion in you. And that's what Gavin does. His music it reaches me and it touches my heart, and I know I can feel his heart and I can understand where he's coming from. So maybe we're just kind of on the same wavelength. But I love his music, and most of all, like, he had an album that was basically a stripped down version. It was just him and a piano or him and a guitar, and it was my favorite. And it's been like 4 years since we've seen him. He needs to bring his tush back to Oklahoma, because somehow he just doesn't end up back here. And it's time. Gavin, I know you're watching this. Come back to Oklahoma. Who is your role model? My parents have always been my role model. My mom for her giant heart, and my dad for his giant brain. I always thought that I was more like my mom, but I was more like my mom than my dad. But as I get older, I am a lot more like my dad than I thought I was. I think probably 2/3 dad, 1/3 mom. But I think I've evolved into that. I think I used to be 2/3 mom, 1/3 dad. But as I get older, I find that I'm a lot like him. I'm very analytical. I think deeply the way that he does, and I don't really take much for surface value. I know there's always a deeper underlining meaning to the things people say, the things people do. Literature and music and things I go through the layers of those things. I don't just keep it at the surface, and that's very much how my dad is. Who is your celebrity crush? Well, I don't really do that. I mean, yeah, there's people that I find attractive, but I've always kind of been of the mindset that why should I have the hots for somebody that is so out of reach that I would never probably even be in the same room with them? Why would you long for someone that you have no access to? But if I had to say who I like to watch or whatever, like I said about English, I love English accents. I love guys that have English accents. So I like to watch Jude Law and Orlando Bloom and those kind of guys, and not necessarily for their looks, but just their, I don't know, their accent, I guess, and the way they sound when they talk is attractive to me. Who is your favorite actor? And I have lots of favorite actors. I really like Matthew McConaughey. And I have to laugh because my mom can't say his name and she calls him Matthew McGayahan. McGayahan. Yeah. Anyways, it makes me laugh that she calls him Matthew McGayahan. But Matthew McConaughey, I really enjoy. In fact, whenever I saw A Time to Kill is when I really decided that I really could appreciate his acting skills. But I like Morgan Freeman, and I like Samuel L. Jackson. I love Denzel Washington, and I love Al Pacino. And I mean, I have appreciation for certain things in lots of different actors. I really liked Christian Slater back in the day whenever he was acting a lot. I like Matt Damon. There's a lot of people. I can't choose favorites. I stink at answering these questions. Who's your favorite actress? I really like Kate Winslet. I love Kate Winslet. I also like Meg Ryan. I like Julia Roberts. Yeah, I'll stop there. Describe yourself in a single sentence. That is impossible. Let me think about it for a minute. When I don't know what to do or say, I pray and I think about God's word, and I think about which part of God's word describes me the most. And what instantly came to mind was more than a conqueror. I'm more than a conqueror. Have I ever dated two people at the same time? Yes. Yes. Have you ever suffered a fracture? My middle finger. Imagine that. Not that I get much use out of it or anything, but a friend and I were rolling as kids. You know how you roll down a hill? We were rolling down a hill, and she just happened to roll right over me, and she bent that finger all the way back. That's the only thing that's ever been broken. Knock on wood. Don't want any more broken anything. I have enough wrong with my body. I don't need anything else. Thank you very much. Have I ever visited a country outside of my continent? Jamaica. If you could give your younger self any advice, what would it be? Don't waste one more minute hating yourself. This too will pass. How you're feeling right now isn't forever. And how you feel now is, as you grow older, everything will change. And who you are won't be embarrassing, and you won't have to be ashamed of who you are. So don't waste any time doing that now. And what other people think of you is none of your business. Last time you swam in a pool. My goodness. I have a fat girl complex. I don't get in a bathing suit in front of people. No, I have too many wobbly bits and things that do not need to be exposed to the air or the water. So I don't. And I can't even tell you the last time I was in a swimming pool. It had to have been when I lived in Colorado, because at that time I was losing weight. I was using swimming as a form of exercise, and I would wait until like an hour before the pool closed and it was dark, and then I would go down there and swim when nobody was in there and nobody could see me. Yeah, I have a complex about that. What is your most embarrassing moment? You know, I'm such a dork and such a klutz that I guess I just stopped being embarrassed, because when I think of it, like, there's not one thing that comes to mind. There's lots of times I've been embarrassed in front of people, but like when I think of an embarrassing moment, I think about one that would make somebody laugh. But the only thing, the time that I remember being mortified, like completely embarrassed, was when I was in middle school. We were taking a test in this class, and another adult came in and started talking to our teacher. And so I leaned over because I was whispering to my neighbor. I was talking to my neighbor, and the teacher looked at me, and apparently she thought that I was looking at the other student's paper, and she like stood up she turned around and pointed right at me, and she said, "You're cheating." And I was just like mortified. I was so mortified that I had my dad come up and talk to her, and I got changed out of her class. That's how embarrassed I was, because I was so shy and backward and introverted that for anybody to draw attention to me to begin with was terrible, but the fact that she was accusing me of something that I would have never in a bajillion years, I would have never done that. And the fact that somebody might think that I was doing that was just too much. I couldn't even deal with it. I literally had my parents come, and I would never have my parents come to school. So if that tells you anything, I called the daddy squad and said, you got to get me out of her. Let's see where we are. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, rate your fashion sense. I think probably a 7. I think I would be much more fashionable if I wasn't as big as I am. I think if I was a smaller person, I would be very fashionable. But my fashion sense now has to do with what do I need to conceal? What do I need to look much less obvious? If I didn't have those issues, I think I'd be more fashion conscious. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, rate your driving skills. Well, this is up for deliberation, I suppose, but I would say 9. I'm a very cautious driver. I don't take chances that I don't have to take. People honk at me a lot because I don't pull out in front of people. I'll wait until it's clear. I don't like to pass people. I'm a very cautious driver. I think I'm a safe driver. Other people scare me. My dad, Becky. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, rate your cooking skills. 10, 10, 10. I am a good cook. No question. I stick my foot in it. I stick my foot in it. Some of you will know what that means and some of you will not. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, how good a kisser are you? 10. No question. One thing you know now that you wish you had known as a kid. Probably the same thing I already said, which is what you think is the end of the world right now is not going to matter to you in a few years. And things that you think are forever, life is not static. It is flowing and moving and changing, and nothing's going to stay the same. So be happy now. The first app you check when you wake up in the morning. Probably Messenger, because that's where I do most of my texting with my family. And since I am not a morning person and I have a tendency to oversleep through lots of alarms, I go to Messenger and send my mom a message so she knows I'm up. But that's probably the first thing I check. What app do you use the most? Probably that. But now that I'm promoting my own channel, I use Instagram and Snapchat and all those, Facebook, Twitter. I use those things a lot more than I used to, but I think the most is still Messenger. What are my hobbies? I love to read. I love to draw. I love to write. Almost everything creative, and that's why makeup is my wheelhouse, because I just have a lot of creativity. I love to listen to music. I love going for walks. I have lots of things that I like to do. I like to do crafts. I'm just creative. Whatever's creative, I like to do it. What countries would you like to visit? First, England. London is top of my list. I would love to go back. I'd like to go on a cruise and go to lots of islands. I like to go to the Cayman Islands. I'd like to go to the Bahamas. I'd like to go to Australia, Scotland, Ireland. I have so many. What do you consider unforgivable? I don't consider anything unforgivable because Jesus forgave me. I might look like Susie Homemaker, Miss Goody Two Shoes, but every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. I have a past. There's a lot of things in my life that I'm not proud of, but Jesus forgave me for all of that and continues to forgive my shortcomings and times that I come up short. And so if I expect him to do that for me, I have to do that for other people. Sometimes it takes longer. it takes me a while to figure out that whenever I am holding a grudge or I'm withholding forgiveness, that I'm punishing myself and not the person that I'm not forgiving. And so I try to do that quickly. I try to do that and process through that as quickly as possible and forgive as quickly as possible. But holding on to things is very counterproductive to you spiritually, emotionally, mentally, all those things. So forgiveness is important to me. What do I do for a living? I am a second grade teacher, first. Second, I do transcription work for my dad and for churches. Lots of pastors like their messages to be transcribed now. So I do that along with my friend Brenda in Canada. She's the one that introduced me to it and kind of let me in on her business, which I always appreciated. And I enjoy that just for the sake of, really examining and listening wholeheartedly to a message that I think God kind of gets to me through those messages that I type sometimes. What is your guilty pleasure? Makeup, I guess, is my guilty pleasure. Like, I'm very conservative financially with almost everything in my life except for makeup. Like, if you would have asked me 5 years ago even if I would spend the kind of money that I spend on makeup now, if I would do that, I would just be like, are you insane? That's my guilty pleasure. As far as, I don't know if that is talking about something in particular, but that's what comes to mind. What is one makeup item you always use even if you aren't doing your makeup? I always put some kind of concealer under my eyes because the fact that I deal with chronic illness, I usually have really dark circles, like all the way down to here. And it just makes me look tired and it makes me look sick. So if I'm not going to put on makeup, I at least try to conceal my under eyes. Heart-shaped tape. If you were a crayon, what color would you be? Pink. Any color question is always going to be pink. Pink. Favorite place to vacation? I think that would have to be Jamaica. At least that was the favorite place that I've traveled to. My first time out of the country, really, and my only time out of the country. A guy that I was dating at the time, Ty, his brother and his sister-in-law were getting married there, and we got to go, and it was just a beautiful time. I love the ocean. I love water, even though I don't like to be in a bathing suit. I still love to be in the water, in the ocean. I love to be at the beach, and it was just beautiful. I really enjoyed it. Last movie you watched, my mom and I went to see the movie Wonder with Julia Roberts, and it's about a little boy that has some kind of illness, genetic illness that disfigured his face, and it was so touching. I bawled my face off. But just like a reminder of, everybody having something unique and special about them, and, how he impacted everybody's life. And at first, everybody was, dogging him out and ridiculing him. And lots of people learned lots of lessons through it. And he really ended up impacting people's lives. It was a beautiful movie. How tall are you? 5 foot nothing. I'm 5'4", very short. Sometimes I say 5'4 1/4 just because I want that extra 1/4 of an inch. Are you taken or single? Taken. Who are your top 3 YouTubers? My favorite YouTubers are Emily Noel 83, Ann Nook, and Coffee Break with Danny. And then there's an honorable mention, Stephanie Nicole. I have a lot of people that I like. Who is the first person on YouTube you subscribed to? Emily Noel, 83. Do you have siblings? If so, older, younger, or both? I have 2 older brothers, Rocky and Roger. What is the first thing you notice about people? I always notice people's eyes. They say that the eyes are the windows to the soul, and I think by looking somebody in the eye, you can really see, even if the words they're saying tell one thing, I think the eyes tell a different story. I think you can see Boo Bear back there giving himself a bath and showing you all his business. I'm sorry. Anyways, people's eyes really show emotion and how they really feel, whether they're expressing that or not. The other day, my kids my friend Wendy that I work with, my colleague Wendy, made a cardboard cutout, and it had a turkey on it. There's a little place for them to stick their face through, and they had this little cardboard beak. And one of the little gals was in there, and I was trying to take her picture, and I said, smile. And she's like, how do you know I'm not smiling? Because her mouth was covered. I'm like, because your eyes aren't smiling. I think you can tell a lot by looking people in the eye. Lips are a close second. What kind of phone do you have? I have a Samsung Edge 7, and it's what I'm filming on right now. I love it. It's excellent. The reason I chose it is because it has a really long battery life. It also has an expandable capacity for hard drive space. You can put SD cards in there, and that's the reason why my phone has enough room for all my music and for my videos. So I think sometimes that I should buy a more expensive camera, but I think my videos look great now, and it's in HD, so hey. I don't have to learn a bunch of settings and do crazy business. The only thing that I would like is that I wish that I could zoom in and out so that when I'm doing eye looks, I could get closer so that you could see better. What is your favorite clothing store? The Avenue. TheAvenue.com. It's where I get all my cool blouses. And a close second is FullBeauty.com. It's like a liquidator for all the plus size brands. Like Woman Within, Romans, Jessica London, Elos, Torrid, they all kind of liquidate through that, fullbeauty.com. What is the last thing you purchased? Guess. A bunch of makeup. Where is your go-to out-to-eat spot? The Olive Garden and Texas Roadhouse used to be my favorite places to go. Now that I've pretty much given up carbs, if we go out to eat, it's usually rib crib. Fast food places, I like Arby's and I like Schlotzsky's because they have a really good caprese flatbread. What was your favorite TV show as a child? I have a scar right here to prove that the Mickey Mouse Club was my favorite show. In Arizona, when I was younger, in the summer, very often around 3 o'clock it would rain. It was just beautiful there. It would be sunny and gorgeous all day, and then around 3 o'clock it'd cloud up for a few minutes, rain for about 10 minutes, and then the clouds would clear and the sun would shine again. But my mom had opened the door and said, hey, the Mickey Mouse Club is on, and I bolted for the door and slipped on the water on the concrete and went headfirst into a window pane, and yeah, stitches and a scar to show that the Mickey Mouse Club is permanently ingrained into my forehead. Have you ever taken karate lessons? No. Like I said earlier, I did almost every sport, but back then karate lessons really weren't a thing. If they were, I didn't know about it. Do you have any nicknames? I have lots of nicknames. My mom calls me Cher. My dad calls me Doll. Both my brothers call me Sis. A lot of people call me Cher Bear because I use that as a handle on lots of online app things. In college, I had an overabundance of attitude, and the guy that I was dating at the time named me Miss Thang. And so Miss Thang went from Miss Thang to MT, the initials MT, and then the MT went to the word empty, E-M-P-T-Y. So eventually people just called me Empty. Kind of weird, but yeah. Have you ever stolen a street sign? No. I know in high school I had a lot of friends who thought that was cool to steal the street sign and like nail them up to their wall. They thought that was cool, but didn't ever do anything for me. What is one thing you miss from your childhood? I miss being with my family all the time, especially my brothers, and just my brothers and my parents and I all together. I miss the simplicity of childhood. I think my whole life I was trying to get to the next level. I wish I was in the next grade. I wish I was in the next school. I wish I was in college. I always was trying to rush life, and as you go through those eras of life, it's more and more complicated, more and more responsibility, more and more heartache for that matter. And so I miss the simplicity of childhood. Do you bite your nails? No. I used to when I was younger. It was a nervous habit thing. I was always anxious, so I was always biting my nails. But, once I went to beauty school, I started getting acrylics, and I guess I just got accustomed to not doing it, because even if I don't have acrylics or shellac or gel, I still don't bite them. What is one TV show or movie you hate that everyone else loves? You know what? I haven't given it a really good shot. I got creeped out in the very first episode and didn't go any further, so maybe I need to give it another chance, but that's Stranger Things. I need to give it another shot because it just, I don't know, it just creeped me out and I just turned it off. What makeup trend are you not a fan of? Well, I wasn't a fan of the wavy eyebrows. I certainly wasn't a fan of where they split them and made it look like a feather. That was creepy. I don't like really harshly sculpted faces. Like, I do a contour, but it's very subtle. I think like really sharply contoured noses and cheekbones, I think it makes faces look harsh when I think women should be really soft and pretty. Not like, you know, fierce, I guess. Not my cup of tea. What is your biggest pet peeve? My biggest pet peeve is people who do not keep their word. Period. If you're not going to do something, don't say that you're going to. Keep your word. And obviously there are exceptions to the rules. Stuff happens. But that's my biggest pet peeve, people who don't keep their word. What do you dip a chicken nugget in? I don't dip a chicken nugget in anything because I don't eat chicken nuggets. Back in the day when I did, I liked hot mustard. If we're talking real McNuggets, hot mustard, ketchup. All right, I've come to the end of the questions, but I didn't come back and give you my favorite quote. So I'm going to go grab it and I'll be back to tell you my favorite quote and we'll wrap this video up. All right, my favorite quote is from Anais Nin, and it says, "The day came when the risk to remain tied in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom." I've always loved that because that used to be me, remaining very tight in the bud, and eventually you get tired of hiding who you are and being ashamed of who you are. But sometimes God comes in and helps you to realize that you do have something very valuable to offer to the world and that you need to get out there and share it. Let your little light shine, right? All right, guys, that's it for me. That's a lot of questions, but hopefully that gave you a little insight into who I am and helped you to get to know me better. But I would love for some of you guys to do this tag. So I'm going to tag Sabrina, the Makeup Mom. I'm going to tag her sister-in-law, Aamyie Ecker. I hope I'm saying her name right. Let's see who else. Shannon, who I can't pronounce her last name, and so I'm going to have to ask her how to pronounce her last name, but I'm going to link her channel and I'm going to ask her, or I'm going to tag her to do this 100 random questions about me tag. All right, guys, that's it for me. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I know this was a lengthy video. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for staying and for taking an interest in me and my life, and thank you for supporting me and my channel. I appreciate it so much. So if you did enjoy the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing before you go. And until next time, take care and God bless. Bye, guys. All right, guys, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it helped you. I hope it helped you. I know that I can make 14,000 bloopers in 2 seconds.
I'll be there for you.